Here we go. What's up, party people? It's your boy Raheem coming at you live from the 905 and the 416. And we got a special guest for you guys. We got a special guest coming from a different country, coming from a different area code. And it's my boy FP Fiery Patriot joining us for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful episode where we going to touch on some deep topics and we going to blow your mind out.
Hey,
What's
what's
up, man?
happening, Raheem? What's going on, man? How's everything over there?
Hey, man, we just trying to live, you know what I'm saying? We just trying to survive, buddy.
I see
But
you, man.
you know,
I've been,
things are getting
well,
tough, man, on a day-to-day basis.
that's amazing, bro. I mean, that's just the way it works sometimes, man. But I'm glad you guys are out here doing your thing. And I've been watching you guys, picking up this information because I love the concept. First of all, I'm happy to be here. I love that you guys, dissect it and get right to the point, and we get a chance to talk about stuff. So I think you guys are doing a fantastic job, man. Keep up the good work, bro. I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate that, man. That's exactly the point. The point is to make sure that we have a channel, a facet where we can provide information unbiased and, you know, as true as can be to the average listener, to the average consumer that may not have time to sit down and watch the news and then dissect and figure out which channel that news is coming from, whether it's right leaning, left leaning, whatever the case may be, right? So we try to gather it all together, put it all together so that it's easy to consume, easy to take in, and it's easy to understand. But without further ado, I wanted to get into, because look, something significant happened just a couple days ago. And I'm sure you're well aware of this because it relates to you directly in the country that you live in. And I think that this is the start of the end of democracy, because the reality of the situation seems to be that whoever, or at least the current situation is that whoever is in power politically is now using that political power to take out their opponents. And there is no better example to give than what happened to Donald Trump just this past week. And it is an abomination. The 34 felony charges that he's been charged with, it's unbelievable. And I guarantee you that from this point onwards, and you can mark my words, from this point onwards, every single time you hear a left-leaning radio station, news station, podcast, debate, whatever you may have, they will continue to refer to him as a convicted felon. I promise you this, because now they are going to double down on it. And especially with the debates that are coming up between him and Joe Biden, where obviously the left was completely scrambling because they had no idea what sort of Joe Biden we would get on any day. And now they have something to lean on. Now they have, honestly, I can even ask you, how many times in that debate do you think Joe Biden is probably going to bring up these charges and refer to Donald Trump as a convicted felon? Because from where I see it, I think pretty much every minute to 2 minutes of him talking, he's going to bring it up at least once.
100%, man. And I call that ammunition. And
Yeah.
ammunition comes to life through manufacturing. So they basically manufactured this ammunition, and they're going to want to use it as much as they possibly can to I guess, shed light on it as much as they can to try to win. Because it's, there's no such thing as fair, right? So, like you said about political power, using your influences and whatnot to get to the goal that they want to reach, they'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is that every single one of my contacts and friends and family members that I have in the US, and even ones that were against Donald Trump at one point, are now, after seeing all of this, after seeing how they have gone after him, have switched sides. And I think that this plan coming from the establishment, I feel that this plan is failing. And the more they go after Trump, the more of a, hero he essentially becomes in people's eyes. And I mean, you're not going to be able to change everyone's mind. You're not going to be able to change the people that are just never Trump and have Trump derangement syndrome and everything like that. But the ones that were on the fence, I think, are now going to be Trump leaning. And one other thing I want to add is November 5th on election day, if anybody is thinking about foregoing their vote, I highly suggest that you rethink your decision, because unless Donald Trump wins by a landslide, you can guarantee that the establishment is going to come up with some sort of plan, some sort of scheme where they're going to switch the tables. And, it's going to be like Houdini, like magic right in front of your eyes, get you to focus on this. And then all of a sudden, this gets taken away, right? So don't let that happen, man. I don't know.
No, you're right. You're exactly right. Because in in any big event where, I mean, we've seen it, right? It's a trend.
Yeah.
You want to distract attention from something that you want to achieve, just to you distract the public opinion and the eyes and whatnot. And speaking of trends, I feel like there's a trend now where person who's standing up for what's right, through all these resources and manipulation and God knows how many other different tactics, they'll assassinate your character and
Oh
will
yeah.
make you look like a terrible person, like you're the boogeyman, or you're, if you come out here, everything's gonna go to shit, like Y2K times 100.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, let's look at the facts here, right? Like what's really going on, and look at the trend. Look at how everything has been playing out.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely going to use all the ammunition they have. They're going to fire at him. I really hope he pulls through and he comes out winning. I really
I
do.
hope so too, man. I hope so too. And this is the reason why I wanted to do this emergency podcast where, we sort of react to a podcast that Tucker Carlson did with Donald Trump Jr. And I think that's going to be a great conversation to listen to. I haven't heard it yet, and I wanted to kind of listen to it on air live with you guys and react to it live, because I think we're going to get to see behind the scenes on what's playing in Donald Trump's head, and also what's happening with his team and how they are dealing with the situation. But yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of insight. So let's get into it. Let's jump right into it. Okay, here we go.
Premise of their democracy, really relies on people actually still buying it. And right. I don't know that I don't know that they care anymore, because like when they talk about democracy, it's a soundbite, right? It's not democracy the way it's not the republic they're preserving.
The opposite of what's happening. Once it's almost like you get kidnapped and the kidnapper has a mask on, but once he shows you his face, he's got to kill you.
Correct.
And they've shown their face.
Yeah, again, I don't think there's anything they wouldn't do. I mean, you put out something, I think it was on Twitter yesterday, which was
So what they're talking about here, right? When he says that they've shown their face, they've kind of showed their hands, and they've shown their face. I mean, when it comes to establishment, one of the biggest donors to the left cause and controlling essentially basically part of the deep state, if not running the deep state, is George Soros. And Trump has multiple times on multiple different occasions come out and said in the press conferences that this is a George Soros backed inquisition, or George Soros is behind, pushing these charges, or whatever the case is, right? So now that a lot of people are coming into the truth, it really opens us up to some exciting times. I mean, there's definitely some things, some major surprises coming down the pike right before the election, and I don't know if people are ready. I don't know if people are ready, man. Have you heard the name George Soros?
I sure have, man. And it's not. I mean, he's definitely one of the. He's definitely considered in one of the one percenters for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard some sort of interview he was doing. I don't know if it was on 60 Minutes or something, where he was talking about his his life and, the experiences that he's gone through, and it's turned him into a person that he is today, where he himself refers to him as God,
Yeah. Yeah.
where he feels like he's earned the right to
Yep.
control the general public,
Yep. Yep.
right? And it's scary. It's scary to see and hear that there are people like George Soros out there. And a lot of people, I mean, I didn't know about George Soros until it was brought up.
Yeah.
And it's people like Trump that are needed for this day and age, the society that we live in, that have the courage, that have, the knowledge, wisdom, and to be able to just him as a leader, the level of fearlessness that he brings to the table. Of course, it scares a lot of people who want to stay in the shadows. And now that the faces is shown, they're gonna, of course, they're gonna throw some allegations like, "Oh, you got all these felonies and whatnot." Just the other day, I got a text message saying, "Hey, we're doing a petition about Donald Trump, and he's 32 felonies, and he's got 32 felonies. Go ahead and just sign the petition."
Wow.
And yeah, I got a text message on my phone, just random, just a couple days ago. And
Yeah.
so they're not only just reaching out through, they're doing everything. So they
Damn.
want to tap into every possible way to assassinate his character, and do what it takes to win.
I hope you guys are paying attention, man. I hope you guys are paying attention. I mean, this is what it's come down to. And imagine if this could happen to Donald Trump with the amount of resources and the amount of money that he has, who the hell are we?
We're
What
nobody.
chance do we stand? You know?
Nothing.
Oh man. So anyway, let's move ahead.
To sort of that extreme, like, well, if they can't get Trump this way, what's the next level? And I think they've proven that they'll do that in the past.
Yeah.
I think we're now figuring that out. We understand it. I think the system's probably been broken for much longer than any of us would care to admit. And for me, I saw it firsthand. I think
at least 61 years it's been broken since they killed the president in an election.
JFK.
For me, I still, even when we started this process, even I'd say it's safe to say I was probably the number 2 target of Russia. And I was like, well, there must be something to it. I know I didn't obviously collude with Russia, but maybe I took a selfie with an agent once because I took 10,000 selfies a day, right? So maybe there. But even like knowing that I was a target, I was like, I still believe.
Isn't that so crazy that if somebody says something to you enough, you actually start believing it. You're like, just like you said, he's like, damn, they just kept pushing this Russia thing down my throat. I was like, shit, maybe like I took some pictures or something. Like, I don't know what the hell happened. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. The way that they try to manipulate everything.
I get it. Because I wanted to, right? I wanted to believe that America is the greatest place in the world and you can do it. And I'm like, it's the FBI. And again, there's some door kickers that I'm still like, hey, they're home team. I get it. They're doing. Eventually, those guys are going to have to speak up, though, right?
We're long past.
I gave the door kickers a pass for far too long, which is like, hey, they can't go against the leadership, but like when you're watching this kind of bastardization of justice, when you're watching this sort of lopsided level, when they're, they spend more time, kicking down the doors of an Amish farmer selling unpasteurized milk than actually going after people committing terror because they're trans or whatever it is that they are.
Wow.
You really lose that ability to get that pass that I really wanted them to give. But I wanted to believe that everything I grew up believing was accurate, and it's all bullshit. It's just all bullshit. So we have to fix that. That's why we fight now, to actually make it so.
But you saw this on January 6th too. I mean, I know that Joe Scarborough and the rest of the liars presented those people as like insurrectionists and dangerous.
That's good.
They were actually the most pure-hearted and 100%. The most naive about they were literally walking with pocket constitutions saying, no, you can't do this. They believed in the system much more than the people who put them in prison who don't believe in it at all.
Without question. And you saw that. I mean, the narrative.
January 6th, they claimed was an insurrection, right? What was it? One person got shot? And that too was by security?
Wow.
what an insurrection, right? I mean, damn, man.
It was pushed so much. The clips that they used were designed to create something that didn't actually happen. I mean, it's so sick. You know, I always say, you know, it was the first unarmed insurrection in the history of insurrections. I mean,
Yes.
it's never happened before, by arguably, I'd say
Yep.
probably the most heavily armed populace if they wanted to have been, right?
Of course.
But of course it wasn't an insurrection. It didn't matter. And they
But
just
you
wanted to
saw
run
it
out
in
the
them,
clock.
like they could hardly believe this was happening. And I think you're describing the same thing. Like you really believed it in our institutions and our norms and
Yeah.
democracy.
I did, and it took, again, I mean, literally threats of
Failing
you're going to
democracy.
jail for treason, a crime punishable by death. That's like not a great swing thought when you're going through it. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute, like
If you're
you
the
know,
father of 5
Yeah.
kids,
yeah,
that's
I'm
not.
like,
Yeah.
and yet I still at the beginning of it, I was like, and then it just your eyes start to open, and you see the games, and you see the people that are on your side, and you see the the Lindsey Grahams of the world, right? They get on TV and they're on Fox or something like that, and they're like, well, we must subpoena these people and we must get to the bottom of this. I'm like, well, you're like the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, like you have the authority to do that, but you're talking about doing the thing that you have the authority to do, but you're unwilling to actually exercise that power. So
Yeah.
that was what disgusted me most about like the Republicans, right? It's you're telling your base, the people who are watching, like you're fighting, but you know damn well that you're not actually fighting.
No.
Right?
And that's why I believe, man, that it's a
Wow.
uniparty. That's why I believe that even with Republicans, it's just a front that they push out to the general public that we're at odds, we're fighting for you, we're doing this, we're doing that. And that's why in 2016 they were so against Trump coming in. And the Republican Party, they can't go against Trump now because we saw 4 years of Trump. We saw the growth that happened in the US and how people were feeling, what the financial markets and the industry, how that was doing and how people were flourishing. And then we've seen what's going on with Biden.
Yeah.
So they can't deny it. It's so in your face that you just cannot deny it. But I do believe that there's a uniparty. This whole thought of, it's a democratic nation and it's a democracy, we're free to choose. I think it's all like a smokescreen, man. It's all bullshit. And I don't know. So we'll see what happens, but I just hope that what they referred to before, saying that a president got shot in the election year, JFK. I just hope that Trump is safe, man, like throughout, and actually ends up winning. But I really hope that he's safe because, as a matter of fact, another thing to add on, I was reading a headline that I can't remember who. I'll look it up, but one of the district attorneys or somebody was like, well, now that he's convicted, we should take off the Secret Service, like the Secret Service protection that Trump has.
Really?
So what does that mean? That means that we want to make him a wide open target so that we could take him out.
Bro, it's so funny you say that because I was watching interview. Have you heard of Andrew Tate?
Yep, absolutely.
So I heard, right? So, I mean, who hasn't, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you recall, there's one thing that he says a lot in his interviews that you get 3 lines.
Yeah.
First, they'll ban you from social media.
Yeah.
Then they'll try to throw you in jail. If that doesn't work, they'll
kill you. Yeah,
kill you.
and he keeps saying every single one of his podcasts, he's like, I am not ever going to kill myself.
Yeah.
I have never wished suicide. I will not kill myself. If they make it, out to be, that means that they did it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's insane, man. It's insane that that's the world that we live in.
It's crazy, man. And people like people that have a lot of money, influence, and they have the courage to come out and speak for the people that can't, or they won't, or people that will get easily ignored. When people like Andrew Tate or Donald Trump, when they come out and say stuff like that, it's because they have the platform to speak from. and they point out certain things that people like, the 1%ers, the ones that are against letting the general public know that they have a smoke screen in front of them. They don't want to. They don't want to have those voices come out. They want people to follow. They want people to follow and just give them the satisfaction of being able to control the general public, right? Because another thing I heard, Andrew Tate talk about is, if you have tons of money, what is the next best thing for you to satisfy your needs? What would it be? And
Power.
it is power. Power to control another human, right? And if you're somebody like George Soros, I mean, come on, he said it himself. He said it himself.
Yeah.
So he wants what he wants. So if it means doing whatever it takes and starting all these campaigns to assassinate this guy, to Donald Trump's character, he's gonna do what it takes, or whoever.
And the problem is, a lot of people don't understand, what it really actually means when we talk about Marxist mentality or communism, right? This is what these guys are pushing. And I highly suggest that you guys look up these terms and understand for yourself what this would look like. Because, the government wants to control everything. That is what they are pushing you towards. I mean, think about it this way. So you were just mentioning that, they want to control your thoughts. They want to control how you feel. They want to push their agenda through you, right? Well, the average individual that works 9 to 5, 10 to 6, or is working a 12-hour, 14-hour shift, and then on top of that is doing Uber, DoorDash, whatever you may have, just to sustain a family life so that he can provide for his family in these times of crisis where inflation is killing all of us, right? This person, which is the average individual, does not have time to sit there and listen to news for 2, 3, 4 hours to see what's happening. They catch the headlines, the highlights, and that's it, right? And if you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over and over again, that's what you're going to believe, right? Because if you're driving in your car on your commute to work and you hear the same thing, and then you come home and you turn on the TV and you're hearing the same headlines, Donald Trump, convicted felon. Donald Trump, convicted felon. Donald Trump, convicted felon. Guess what you're going to believe? Donald Trump
100%.
is a convicted felon, right? That's what you're going to believe, because that's all you keep hearing.
Yeah, it's a simple marketing tactic, right? When you hear the radio, just a regular old radio on your in your car, you're driving to work, you're hearing your favorite show, and during rush hour, they'll play, or a company would pay to have the radio station play an ad.
Yeah.
And it's a short ad. It plays over and over and over.
Exactly.
Like with whatever amount of intervals that they have, right? Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. But they'll play that sucker over and over and over.
Yep.
Bro, it's all marketing. They paid the most. That's why they're getting heard the most. And at the end of the day, that Sleep Number mattress commercial sale going on, that's in your head. And you're like, you know what? I'm laying in my bed. I wonder what Sleep Number is going to be like. Oh, you can adjust. Bro, it's crazy, right?
You tell them, FP.
The power of repetition, baby.
That's it, buddy.
They got me, bro. I'm thinking about Sleep Number.
That's hilarious.
Oh man!
All right, let's see what else he said.
And we see that so much. That's the difference between. It's the difference between the Democrats. I mean, they've shown, hey, they'll put their opposition in jail. They'll smother them. They'll silence them. There's nothing they won't do to preserve power. We'll write a strongly worded memo and do nothing to follow up. And I think as long as you have that sort of imbalance in the response, nothing changes. Because the Democrats, they'll take their win, they'll run to the bank, they'll laugh their ass off along the way, and nothing changes until we actually start fighting back.
I think a lot of people yesterday, when that verdict came down, I'm among them, my first reaction was, wow, they'll actually hurt us. Like they would execute us, me, I'll just say, speak for myself, and there would be an MSNBC panel of former federal prosecutors telling their audience that I deserved it, and they'd be laughing. And the Lincoln Project would send out a, congratulatory tweet, and I was like, wow, there's sort of a lack of humanity. There's a coldness. There's an evil under all of this that I think I underestimate.
I think we all did, and by the way, I think many still do. Again, it's hard to believe that you could live through these last 8 years or whatever, 10 years, and not think that. I mean, look at that this is even within 10 points in terms of an election. Like, I can't name literally a single metric, a single one, geopolitical, economic, or otherwise, like where we're better off now, and yet they'll outraise us. They'll do this. The media still pushes it as though, Bidenomics is doing wonderfully for you. Like, I get it. I'm the son of a billionaire. If I'm pissed off at the grocery store, like, I'm not like one of these woke guys on one of these channels where it's like, my 3-month-old baby was talking about nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula, Tucker, and she was crying. She was scared. It's like, I get it. Like, I understand where I'm coming from. I'm totally comfortable with that. I've been blessed. But like, if I'm sitting there with sticker shock, like, what's the country feeling? Yeah. If I see what's going on in my interest rates of my mortgage, like, man, how much longer can we do this?
This is exactly what we were talking about. Exactly what we were talking about just now. You know what I mean? Like, inflation is killing all of us. Tucker Carlson goes on and says that, I was shocked that this could happen to me. They could kill me. You know what I mean? That's exactly what we were just saying at the beginning of this podcast. But all right, let's see.
Then you talk about wars and trillions of dollars of spending, and then the Republicans are telling us that the Ukraine is the number one most important issue for Republicans across our country. I've heard that from Mitch McConnell dozens of times. It's just not, right? I've spoken in front of more Republicans in the last year than Mitch McConnell has in his entire lifetime, and I think I've surveyed. Probably I do it live, like just at a speech. 1,000 people here, 500 people here, 5,000 people there. It's not. It's been a top 10 issue in about 65,000 people for 3 people. One of them was a DC sort of beltway guy. Yeah. He felt very strongly about it. Probably he was profiteering off of it. One of them misunderstood the question, so he thought it was a double negative. So it was not, in fact, a top 10 issue for him. Because is it top 3 or top 10? And one of them, it was top 10, but not top 3. And I said, sir, and I'll ask him. I don't care. I want to hear it out. Like, I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I was like, I'm going to give you a pass. So I'm going to effectively say, out of about 65,000 people surveyed in the last, let's call it 2 years, 18 months, whatever it is since the war started, a little more, I guess, exactly. Basically 0 people have been in favor of this, but the leader of the Senate will tell us it's the number one issue for Republicans across the country. It's just not so.
How can that be? I was in DC last night. I never go back. I'm from there. And I took 3 people to dinner, 4 people at the table. Nobody drank for all 3. I am a teetotaler, so are the other 3. And it's a good restaurant, but not like a famous restaurant. Restaurant I've eaten at for many years. The bill was $800 for 4. $800. Wow.
Not drinking.
4. Not drinking and nothing crazy. Yeah. Like salad, steak, dessert, $800. And I thought, I'm pretty insulated from cost, but I thought, I can't. How do people live here?
My experience was opposite of that. I took 2 of my boys on a fishing trip, and we were coming back, traveling through an airport, and we went to a McDonald's, and it was my 11-year-old boy, my 14-year-old boy, and me at the time. It was the last, and it was like $47 and change.
Yep.
For like an 11-year-old child, a 14-year-old child, and me. I'm like, again,
the funny thing is, I actually saw an article where they said that fast food is now considered luxury. Can you imagine? Like, let me say that again. Fast food is now considered a luxury. Can you believe that? That's so true, man. Like, at the airports, I mean, okay, sure, at the airports, prices are a little bit higher and they're a little bit more exaggerated. But even if you go to a regular ass McDonald's anywhere, 2 people buying, 2 combos or whatever, you're basically looking at $45-$50
easily
at McDonald's.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I mean, McDonald's is just the bigger name, and it stands out because their prices are fairly decent, or they used to be. But even any other restaurant that you go to, man, like an average meal, like 3 people are walking in, $45 to $60 easily.
Yeah, I was so this past weekend, I'm at home and we're looking at some dessert options, okay? and we're using DoorDash and Uber Eats. And there's this dessert place close by us, D Spot, and we're looking at a dessert which is essentially a waffle with a chocolate chip cookie on it, with a small scoop of ice cream, not even a large scoop, a small scoop of ice cream, some chocolate sauce drizzled on it. Guess how much that was?
Oh man, I don't know, $15, $17.
$32. $32. $32
Bro,
on top of
you better hit the grocery store real quick, pick up a pint of ice cream, a box of waffles, and some
Man.
chocolate syrup, all for like, I don't know,
Less than 10.
Less than 10. I'd say 10.
Yeah.
I'd say 10. 10 plus tax.
Yep.
For
crazy,
sure, man. Yeah, no, it's crazy how it works, man. You know, it's similar experience, man. We're just at work, and we wanted to order for just like 3 sandwiches from a fast food place around the corner, like literally a mile down, and we do the DoorDash option, and it was like $67.
Damn.
$67. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call the place. Somebody's going to have to go pick this up. All right. We're not paying $70 for 3 people to eat.
Yeah.
All right. This is just ridiculous. Bro, we called the restaurant and it was $43.
Wow.
$43.
Wow.
True story, bro. $43. And somebody just went and picked it up. And, you know, it's ridiculous, man. Close to $30 in delivery.
Yeah.
And tip charges and whatnot. I mean, tip, I get it, but $30.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, bro.
That's
just for
crazy.
a sandwich, fries, no drink.
Yeah. But you know, the dessert I'm talking about, that was $32 just for that. And then you add on the delivery charges and the taxes and the fees and all this nonsense that they charge. You know, you're above $40 for one dessert. Crazy, man. It's
then companies like that, yeah, they I'm pretty sure they're double dipping, right?
Yeah.
They're charging the vendor and they're charging us.
100%. And then you also gotta tip the driver, which by the way, it's no fault of the driver. The driver is actually doing you know, a service, right? Like he's helping you out because he's, you know, going out there in the cold, rainy weather, nighttime, whatever you may have,
right,
and delivering you the food. So I'm happy to tip the drivers. But that's an additional cost on top of the fees that they charge.
Absolutely. It kind of ties into that whole smokescreen that we're talking about, man. They're able to do this and get away with it because we're not able to see the full transaction.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So they'll get away with it, and they're going to continue to get away with it unless, you know, people start speaking up and say, "Hey, what the hell is going on here?" But
crazy.
We'll see. Yeah, it definitely is, man.
All right, let's go through it.
It's not going to change my spending habits. I'm not pretending. I drive it. My truck has 700 horsepower. Like, you know, I'm not happy at the pump, but like.
But if they're telling you the war against Russia is the most important thing to Americans,
yeah, no, it's not.
They're lying. So both of us have sort of skipped ahead past an analysis of the case and sort of taking it as a given that what we saw yesterday was grotesque and really sort of the end of a fair justice system.
Mm-hmm.
But for people who've just heard that and not gotten some of the details that prove it to be true. Yeah. Can you just run through what the case was?